What's up, you guys? Today's episode is going to knock your socks off. I got two people who are just crushing it in the real estate space. We got KJ and Joseph. They invested everything they had, $97 left in their bank account. They learned how to wholesale, and then they got a $45,000 assignment in just 2 months. That's not all. Then they took it to the next level and learned multifamily and got two seller financing deals in just 7 months, totaling 70 units. Can you imagine? Well, we're going to hear their story today, so don't go anywhere.
So the big question is this: how can we achieve financial freedom, quit the 9-to-5, and live a mighty life? That is the question, and this show will give you the answer. You are listening to The Mighty Mike Show with your host, Mighty Mike Reed.
All right, welcome, guys. How you guys doing today?
Doing good. I love that intro. That was really nice.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's a little too Mighty Mike, but I'm like, it's my show, right?
No, it was good. It was a great intro for sure.
Well, thanks, guys. Well, listen, you guys are the ones I want to highlight here today. You guys are just crushing it. I mean, who wouldn't want to go get 70 units, not in just 7 months, but like years, right? Like some people work for years and they're not able to accomplish that. But before we dive into that, take just a minute and tell us a little bit about your personal lives.
Yeah. So we're married, right? We've been doing this together for like 3 years now. We just had a baby. She's 6 months, like last week, 2 weeks ago. So she's been pretty much, the center of our attention for these past 6 months. And even prior to that, we've been just hungry and focused on building this business and building ourselves up. We're the first in our family to do anything like this. So, we kind of got to set those ground rules and hit the ground running.
Yeah. Well, you guys definitely are a good example of hitting the ground running. That's for sure. But I can tell you from experience, someone who's had lots of children. Okay. I got 5 kids. It never gets old. Like every kid that you have continues to add on to your stress. Right. Okay. But more so, and I feel that my ability to love, it sounds crazy, but like your ability to care for another person grew to the level that you could then provide to that person. Like, I didn't love anything when I was a kid. So every kid that I had, and then now that, divorced and I get my kids half the time, I'm able to give all that love to my dogs. And so my dogs are spoiled, So, good stuff, you guys. So kind of going into this, like first of all, what even made you think about real estate? And I know you guys needed money, but most times when someone's low on money, they don't think, maybe I should go buy a house. What even got you started?
Yeah, that's pretty funny you say that, actually. KJ is probably the number one reason why we started. If we take it to the very, very beginning, she was working at this job. We were both working at downtown Houston, where we live in the Houston area. And this was back in like 2017. Long story short, she didn't do her job, right? Instead, she spent time on YouTube trying to figure out, how to get rich, right? And it didn't lead to real estate yet, but she fell in love with Gary Vee. And so we went to one of his seminars that he was having locally. And when we got there was somebody that was talking about real estate. And we were just like, vibing with everything he said. It's like, wow, this is really cool. I really want to learn more about this. So we ended up going to do this workshop. It was like a 2 or 3 day weekend workshop. And we learned a lot and never took any action with that. Like not at all. We didn't do anything with that. So that's where it started. And then 2 or 3 years later, COVID happened, right? And then we lost our jobs. We were stuck sitting at home, basically about to lose the apartment, couldn't afford rent, couldn't afford utilities, sold my truck, bunch of hardships. And then she was like, this sucks.
I told him
basically what happened.
I told him, I said, we're not going to sit here and continue watching TV. Like, I'm a very social person, and like being stuck at home was like, oh my gosh, awful to me. Like, I was like, I want to see friends. I want to see family. I cannot sit in a dungeon for months on end. And watching TV was just like bringing me down. And I said, we have to do something about this. I've always had like an entrepreneur mindset. I've always tried multiple things throughout my life. I kind of always knew I didn't like working for people. I don't like people telling me what to do, especially when I can tell that their mindset isn't really there. I don't have respect for them when they come in and cause drama. And I'm like, you're supposed to be my boss and I'm supposed to listen to you. So I was like, okay, this is not going to work. I was like, I don't like being tied down to a job. I want to have financial freedom. And so I'm like, we're going to sit and watch YouTube. And so for like 8 hours a day, I would sit there and take notes. And
like 30 days.
He didn't even want to at first. He was pissed at me because I made him sit down and watch YouTube videos. I'm like, we're going to learn this stuff because I'm not okay just sitting here and not doing anything. And so then that's when we kind of jumped into it. And do you want to?
Yeah, we typed in how to get rich, right? That's whatever. I'm sure everybody's done that before. And ultimately, long story short, it kept leading back to real estate. So we're like, okay, how do we get into real estate? Wholesale. Okay, well, wholesale is an option for us because it's no money, right? We're not using our own money. We don't have money.
Right.
So how can we learn that? So we started like learning the concept. And once we understood it, like, okay, look, we need to find someone to go and teach us this stuff. And so I reached out to a family friend that was in real estate. He connected us with these two guys that had never done anything like it, but we were the guinea pig program for them and the last, right? It was a lot of work. They decided they would do that again. But we ended up paying them all the money that we got from stimulus checks, right? All the stimulus checks that we were getting, it was like $5,000. We put all of that into that with them and spent 30 days going to their office and just learning everything that we could from them, right? They essentially opened the blueprints to their business and we were able to like copy and paste and just put the work in and make it happen. And that's what led to getting our first deal closed.
Wow. So let's take it back for a second. So first of all, Gary V, right? Gary V is inspiring because of some of the things that he talks about is like, just put in the work, right? That whatever your thing is, it's okay. If you want to just live on $2,000 a month and stay on the beach and you don't have any bills, cool. Live your dream, right? Like that's the cool thing is it's like, that's the perspective we should all have. You want to be rich? Good for you. Go be rich. You want to sit on the beach? Okay. Now you guys were in a situation where you actually needed to go to actually get somewhere, right? You wanted to improve, right? Like to scale up, to move to that next level of life, which I usually call like level 2. It's like, if you don't make $10,000 a month, you're kind of in poverty, and some people hear that and they're like, what, including family members and stuff that I know that are like, you're unrealistic. Like, no, it's true. Like, think about it. If you had someone you knew that needed help, you couldn't help them because you're barely paying your own bills. Like, how are you supposed to like be a go-giver and go help people when you don't even make enough to barely provide for yourself and you can't pay for college for your kids? So the other thing is like that I heard that I really want to highlight, and this is in my experience. I mean, I'm divorced, but like I see like women usually are very, very intuitive on like,
100%.
hey, we got to go here, we got to go there. And I find it kind of funny. Like you're like YouTube and like, we got to figure this thing out. And then eventually us men, right, we're kind of hard headed. Eventually we're like, okay, let's get it. Let's do it. And then you took action, Joseph, right? Eventually, right? I don't know when, but like you took action and then that turned into, so it's like the spiritual or intuitive leader, right? And then all of a sudden the man can step up. And I just love that like balance, that dynamic. It's so powerful. And then you guys were able to find a coach, right? And then you invested in this coach during COVID. I'm amazed by how many people during COVID changed, like completely uprooted and changed their lives during COVID. So many people. I mean, almost every single person I know was like their life completely changed. They moved, they started a new job, they got divorced, they, found a new person, or they had a baby, right, during COVID.
A lot of people did.
So take us to that moment where you found the deal. Actually, back it up just a little bit. Okay. You're getting the coach and you're going through it. You're making phone calls. Are you making phone calls to get the deal?
I would say we were not making as much as we should have been, for sure. Yeah. I'm not even gonna lie to you, right? We had during those 30 days, right? We're still the same people, right? We were the same people with the same, bad mindset, but we wanted to be better, right? We wanted to get better and get stronger with our mindset. And I'm not even gonna lie, that didn't even happen for at least another year or two afterwards. I'm not even gonna sit here and tell you it didn't.
Hey,
But being there in their office was like, okay, we didn't just pay all this money to not take action on it. So
right.
we started calling their dead leads, and KJ was actually the one that called this guy. And so we were calling on their dead leads. Everybody in their office had called on these leads, not once or twice, but like multiple times. Like for them, their methodology was every person calls this person 8 times each, and they had 4 callers on their acquisition team. So that's at least what 32 calls to this one person, and none of them could get this guy to the closing table. So, lo and behold, KJ's little sweet and innocent voice on the other side of the phone was able to make it happen. And
Yeah.
he loved her. As an older gentleman, he actually had 4 properties in the A-Leaf area, if anyone in Houston knows where that's at. And we were able to go visit the properties, walk them, go through all the steps, right? And it's funny. Yeah, the showing, right? The showing of the property was the biggest we've ever done for any property ever. And I guarantee you, we had at least 50 or 60 people show up to the showing. And it was so many. And we told them, right? We told them that these were just contractors and other people to give bids. And so he was like, man, it sure looks like an auction. There's a lot of people here.
It is.
It's teams of people, it's different organizations. So we had like a system where I was coordinating the whole everybody going in and out of the house, because tenants were still in there, and she was dealing with the seller, making answering his questions, but also keeping the other buyers at bay so they don't come and ask him questions, giving it away. Now today, we're much more transparent with it. If we do any wholesale, we tell them straight up exactly what we're doing. I mean, that's just our methodology, and it works for us. It doesn't work for everyone, but transparency and honesty is key for us. And if they don't want to do business with us, no problem. We'll just move on to the next person. But that was it was a crazy experience for sure.
Yeah, it's so powerful, and it's important to note like the confidence that comes with just doing one deal. Like sometimes I tell people like figure out how to manufacture confidence. Like if you don't have confidence because you haven't earned it yet, like through a deal, let's say, then muster the confidence that you have potentially from something else that you did in your life, right? And so it sounds like what you're able to do, KJ, is it sounds like you were able to manage the seller's expectations in a way that he didn't blow his top, right? That he was able. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, let's go into that just a little bit, because I think some people might be like, well, what do you mean? And isn't he thinking like he was just saying, like Joseph was saying, people are like, it's like an auction. Like, how did you manage that? How did you have that conversation?
It was really stressful. It was very difficult because I didn't really have experience. Like we're brand new in real estate and I don't even know how to do a contract. I'm surprised I even got him to agree to sell his properties in the first place. So it was very like, oh my gosh, we're actually doing this. Like I'm like, the pressure is so high, like please don't back out. Like I hope everything goes the way it's supposed to, because like we need this deal to close, otherwise we're screwed, because we put all of our money on the line. Yeah. And so it really was just like building that relationship with him and having him trust me, and just also having the help of our mentors. Like we couldn't have done it without them, because we didn't even know how to do the contracts.
This is so important. It's so important to note that, because, well, 2 things. So one thing is like, what a blessing, because as a sales coach myself, I can tell you that the best way to get a deal is to not need a deal, right? Because when you're having that conversation with the seller and that desperation comes across, they're immediately like, whoa, like you're too invested in this, like, or they think they have leverage of some kind. And so it's hard to get it. But that's a big blessing, and like Joseph was saying, your sweet voice, older guy, like, this, he remind him of his daughter. Who knows what it was? Maybe he told you, I don't know, but so powerful. And then the coaching aspect, the who not how. I just got off a call with my accountant, and she's like, and I was just like, thank you so much for doing all this stuff for me, blah blah blah. And she's just like, who not how, right? And I said, exactly. I love that she reads that stuff and understands. I'm like, that's exactly it. I need you to take care of this stuff so I can go and do what I'm good at. And so having that mentor backing you up until you build enough knowledge and confidence, right? So that you can get that contract, fill it out, and move forward. And now, we've had other conversations, Joseph and I too, of the stuff you guys are doing, which we're going to get to at the end of the show. So guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to finish going through some stuff, but we got some really cool stuff coming at the end. So that I'm excited to talk about. So you guys moved from wholesale. You got this wholesale deal. And then like, did you think like, let's go all in on multifamily because you got this deal and now you have some money to spend on mailers? I'm just throwing that out there. Did you guys go more into wholesale or did you immediately start learning multifamily? How'd that work?
We went from wholesaling like that summer when COVID happened. We had that mentor. Well, then we got our first check. We split it with our mentors. So the 45K, we made half of that, 22.5. And then we were dumb and we were like, okay, let's invest it and let's start a business and we'll make money. Well, we didn't realize you need to know what you're doing and like you should be able to handle all the leads that were coming in. So like we had VAs, we had so many leads coming in and then we didn't know how to convert them. We couldn't
Closers.
keep up with it.
Yeah.
So
we just weren't prepared. We thought we were prepared. We were like, oh man, this is gonna be a piece of cake, and you just started spending money, but we didn't have the SOPs in place to actually make it happen. Is where we messed up. So we spent like half of it in just that. And, it's a huge lesson for sure.
Well, so let's talk about that a little bit. So you went out and hired VAs. Did you have an agency do it, or did you go on and find your own VAs?
It was an agency. It was you might know him, Gino. I don't know. I said Paloma. I don't know the last name.
I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah.
So you can, because you can hire him to go do them and train him and stuff, or you can actually go to like onlinejobs.ph or one of these places and actually hire him and train him yourself. So that's cool. And then how about mailers? Did you guys do direct mail?
No.
It was all cold calls. Yeah. We only did calling. We did invest some into texting, which I still have money in that platform.
Yeah.
That we can't take it out,
No,
so
you can't. Batch is that way too. It's terrible. So yeah, no, but the cold calling was a great method, kind of bootstrapping it. That was good because you could have spent all that money. You could have spent a good portion of that money just on mailers.
Yeah.
And you may not have gotten anything out of it. That's why some people will do that because of the guys out there that are spending a bunch of money, like me, I'll spend, $3,000-$4,000 a month just on mailers. And, as an agent, right, when I was a listing agent, and you may get 2 or 3 deals a month from it. And it's like, does it justify itself? Yes, because eventually the person may sell with you if they bought with you and this kind of stuff. So, but let's kind of transition. So what made you go into multifamily? Like, how did that come about? Did you get caught by a Facebook ad with Jake and Gino or one of these guys, or what happened?
Oh, KJ happened again.
Yeah.
YouTube.
I was dispoing all the time, and I would have buyers tell me, oh, I'm selling my whole portfolio. I'm trying to get into multifamily. And I'm like, I hate single family. Like it was always like pulling teeth, to like want to get up and work. Like I hated doing the wholesaling. I hated single family. I was like, okay, there's got to be more to this because I couldn't see the end in sight. I couldn't see like freedom. All I saw was like grinding and being on the hamster wheel, even wholesaling and single family. And so then I was like, you know what? Why do I have to be that person 10 years from now and then start learning? I was like, why can't I just skip all of this and get into multifamily now? And so then we had joined a team and it ended up not working out. So we were basically starting from scratch again. And we were like, okay, let's just do multifamily. So our partner Oscar, actually, he's in sub 2. I saw him posting about multifamily. So I reached out to him and said, hey, can we hop on a Zoom? Like, I'm trying to learn multifamily. I was just searching on Facebook, trying to find people that were doing it and that would hop on the phone with me. And so we've been together ever since. And we pretty much started taking action. We didn't know what we were doing. We would just get on Zoom every single day and try and figure it out together.
Yeah. Like learn the game, right? Like acquisitions, like is very similar to residential in the way that you can call sellers, but where you get the information. So how did you, I mean, yeah, how did you get into this first deal? Like how did that happen?
Well, it's funny. So every person that we talked to, right, kept telling us either go find a deal or pay for my course. That's what everybody told us, right? We were looking for knowledge and we were trying to get educated on all the stuff we didn't know in multifamily. So out of those two things, we did both, right? So we invested into a program and we were able to get some knowledge in multifamily. And at the same time, we only knew how to find a deal, right? We didn't know how to do anything else. So we went and we were just doing what we knew, right? Calling a bunch of people, and that's pretty much all we really know, right? So
It's good.
in the beginning, all we did was call a bunch of brokers, right? So direct to broker, direct to agent, whatever you want to call the strategy. And so our team, we actually called 600 brokers in the first, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. And even prior to that, we were dealing with a bunch of wholesalers, and ultimately that got us nowhere. Pretty much nowhere at all.
There's only a few wholesalers that do multifamily on a good scale. There's a couple in Florida that do, but they take $100,000 assignment fees, which depending on the deal could be a great deal for you as well.
Yeah, and we weren't finding anything like that. And so ultimately, we started posting content of what we were learning, and that's really what was the game changer for us. Right? We were just posting what we were learning. We hadn't successfully closed the deal yet, or even found a good deal, but we were learning all this stuff on what to do and how to move forward with it. So through that, through the content, through our Facebook group that Katie put together, it's I think it was like 500 people at the time. Now it's a little like 3,000, something like that. But somebody had reached out to us. Children. Somebody had reached out to us that was part of that group and sub 2, because we're also part of sub 2. And so they said, hey, I've got this deal, but I really don't know what to do with it. I mean, we literally have nothing. Like, let me show you what I've got, right? And so we hopped on a Zoom call, and what they had was an envelope, right? Just the back of an envelope, a picture. And written on that envelope was how much the seller paid in water and a guess of how much he thought he was getting in income. And that's all we had to go off of for this deal. And that's where the deal came from, is from those two people who ended up becoming our partners on that deal, as well as our team. And Pace is actually a partner on that deal too.
So this was a seller finance deal, is that right?
Yeah, it was not at first. They brought it to us as a cash deal.
Yeah.
And we were able to structure terms as a seller finance deal, and really, really great terms too. I think we put 5% down, and then half of that was down went credited back towards us for rehab.
Yeah.
And then
50-year note.
50-year note, 50, and then 3% interest with 3 months deferred payments.
That's really 3 months deferred. Oh, that's really good terms. Yeah. So a couple things that I want to note on that. In my experience calling a residence, and I'm curious what you guys think about this, calling residential homeowners, the golden question is like, if you could get the right price for this, would you consider selling? It's an absentee owner, it's an investment, right? And all they got to do is go, what are you going to give me? And then that's when the conversation starts. It's like, okay, well, what has you thinking about selling it, right? But what's crazy is the residential side of it. It's like, it's all based on that top price that you're willing to pay. Whereas with, and Pace talks about this in his courses and stuff, is like that multifamily, whenever you're having a conversation with a multifamily owner, they're like, they almost assume terms like, well, what are you thinking? Like cash or are you thinking terms, And it's like, oh, what do you mean? You know what terms are? And Pace talks about that, how like he spends the first 15-30 minutes or whatever explaining to someone about his pickup truck, how he sold it on subject or seller financed it and he got way more money for it. He doesn't have to have that conversation because there's a good chance that seller purchased that property with some kind of seller financing or some kind of structured terms with the bank, that wasn't like a traditional mortgage. And so have you experienced any of that? Are you still cold calling for multifamily folks?
So we never did direct to seller. We only strictly called brokers and built relationships with brokers. The reason being is brokers will constantly bring you deals, but sometimes a seller is one and done. So to build a relationship with the broker who's going to continuously bring you deals is what we were looking for. And on top of that, we considered them as a teammate. There's somebody who can vouch for us and also get past that barrier with other brokers. So we built a relationship with the broker who would go and find deals for us. He would vet and he would be able to get more information out of brokers than I would because he's a broker. And I don't know, you're an agent, you know how agents are like, oh, you're an agent. Okay. It's like you automatically relate in a way. So, in doing so, it was really great because I was able to train one of my favorite brokers. He was newer, but what is the word? He had the go get 'em mentality. Yeah,
He's motivated.
He doesn't give up. And so he was newer, but I was teaching him all the questions and things I needed. So it was nice because then he would go find the deals and I was teaching him how to napkin underwrite. I was teaching him, I need the assumable loan info. I need to know if they're willing to seller finance. I need the call to offers date. Like all of this information, I want you to have it before you present it to me. So then that way I'm not having to do that. Because in the beginning, I had called over 500 brokers myself to find somebody who we could build a relationship with. And out of those, only 5 of them were actually decent brokers that were actually doing deals. And now out of those 5, only 1 of them still continues to bring us stuff. And the other ones are kind of just like, they were getting lazy and they would just say, hey, you respond to the broker, you do this. I'm like, well, if I'm going to pay you, then you need to do your job. So it goes to show how very little people there are that are actually doing this and taking action because it was very difficult to find somebody that would put in the same hustle as us.
Yeah. Well, it really comes down to what I've noticed is, that there's a lot of big organizations that will come in and a lot of hedge fund buyers that will come in and purchase things, and it's very transactional. So the good part about that is if you have all of your ducks in a row, right? Because I have a multifamily team that they do most of all that stuff, and I do the marketing stuff. And when we get a new asset and stuff like that, I'll do all the marketing, I'll do all the promotion, try to do capital raising, stuff like that, right? And it's so transactional that if you have your ducks in a row and you don't have any real competitor and your offer is better, you just get the deal. So it's almost like it's so different than residential because residential, there's so much emotion involved. And that's why I like the absentee owners in a way, because there's a little bit less emotion involved. It is an investment, especially if they have 5 or 10 units and stuff like that, or 5 or 10 properties that they own. They're not as emotionally tied to them. They're like, yeah, that renter's lease is up coming up. I'm ready to I'm ready to offload that one because he's a pain in the butt, or whatever. So I'm curious. I want to throw out some names. I'm just curious. Like, are you calling big brokerages like Marcus and Millichap or those kind of brokers? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really? And you have.
We actually are not even the ones doing it anymore, right? We have an acquisitions team that handles those calls now. So we're not even the ones that are actively calling the brokers. We're just maintaining the good relationship that we do have, and then we have the acquisitions team that's reaching out, doing the outreach to new brokers and building relationships with their own brokers too. That's the stuff.
So you have this one broker who's kind of your go-getter, he's going out there and he's kind of trained, kind of coached by you and stuff like that. So he's the main guy. And then there's one other guy who will still send some deals. And then you have the whole team. So have you guys positioned yourself as a company that's doing this? So when these people are calling on your behalf, is it like, Blackstone, or whatever, like companies like Colin gonna try to buy this thing? Is that what you do?
Yeah. So, like I said, honesty and transparency is really what works best for us. So I tell them just to tell them our story. And so usually what we do right is we take control of the narrative right away. So a lot of times people will go in and they'll start asking about the property, and then they're like, hey, what questions do you have for me? Well, our method and what we do is we immediately go in there and tell them who we are, what we do, and what we're looking for. And it usually answers all of the questions that they would have asked us in the first place. And because we got it out of the way and we offered the information, they don't ask us again. Like we don't get asked to send proof of funds or anything about our buying history or things like that.
We don't send bios.
We don't send bios.
None of that.
We do it all up front. We get on the phone call with them
Wow.
and just tell them right away. That way they don't even have to ask us. Because I've even been in a call before where I did that, and he said it outright. He said, "Man, I was going to ask you for this, and this, but I mean, you pretty much gave me everything I needed, so I didn't ask that."
Yeah. Yeah. And like I was saying, the transactional, right? So you've experienced that where it's like we have our ducks in a row, and then it becomes so systematic where it's like as long as the deal makes sense, we're gonna buy it, right? Or as long as the terms make sense, you're gonna buy it. So let's transition. I think that's so good. There's so many more questions I could ask about that because people love the details, don't they? They love to get into the, like the assignment fee, like for example, when you got the 22,000, like we could dive into so many different things of the structure and was there a contract here and a contract there. But I want to encourage people because you guys are doing some pretty cool things, a lot of different things. But what are you working on right now? Like right now that you're most fired up about?
Well, right now we have our third acquisition that's under contract. We're in the middle of raising capital for that, so we're super excited about that. If anyone wants to find out more what that looked like, you can absolutely hit us up. But in addition to that, we're running a single family operation still. That never really stopped. We still got to get paid, right? Multifamily is a long-term thing. It's not short-term. So we're still doing multifamily. We're still doing single family that pays our bills for now. And we also do gator lending or short-term transactional lending for things less than 60 days and that have little to no risk.
Well, so you guys are lending people money. So you got the multifamily thing, which is equity, which is your future wealth, right? And technically your wealth because it's under your name and stuff, but it's future food, right? And then right now you can't eat that equity. So now you're doing the residential stuff and then the short-term lending. So with the short-term lending, is that like an opportunity that you like lend people money? Like if I want to borrow $10,000. Is that something you would do?
Yeah, it depends on how our money would be secured, but absolutely. I mean, so we're partnered up with a couple different people that have liquid funds, and we'll split profits with them. We just need to structure a bet and put the deal together, just put it in front of them. But it's a lot of things are mainly like EMD or probate fees, things that are usually real estate centric, right? And sometimes, outside of that, as long as our money is secured and it's a little to no risk deal, then we'll do it. And we also have someone that will do transactional funding, right? So for wholesalers that don't want to have their buyers see what they're going to make, right? Because one deal we made over 100,000, and if we showed the buyer that, he probably would have backed out and not closed. Right. Yeah. So we double closed. But to do that, you have to have the funds to close in the first place. Even though you're only going to own the property for like an hour or two, you still have to have the funds. So we provide that as well.
Transactional funding. Yeah. It's so crazy today. Back in the day, it's something that it just fascinates me. Back in the day when you wanted to learn something, you had to go talk to old people. Right. That was the quick way. That was the YouTube, right? Go talk to grandpa and see how he made his money or see what he did when he dated girls and how he treated it, whatever. And, or you'd go to the library, right? And you'd look up books and like try to learn something. I'm really going to commit. I remember back in the day going to the Barnes and Noble and picking up how to build websites for dummies. because I was going to build the LinkedIn, because at the time LinkedIn wasn't really worldwide, but Facebook was. And I was like, what if you had like a business? Because my entrepreneur brain was ticking. I was like, I got to do this. So I went and bought this book that I wasn't going to read. I thought I was. And then I think it was like a month or two later, I was telling my friend about this great idea, and he goes, "You're talking about LinkedIn?" And I was like, "What's that?" And I looked it up. And so it's funny now with real estate, right? Because back in the day, you had to show up at the courthouse steps. You had to know somebody. You had to show up with cash money at 10% to purchase something at an auction. You still got to do that. But you can actually leverage now relationships you have to actually purchase things. I mean, the idea that you could borrow 500 grand and not have to really pay for money up front, you just take it out of your profits on the deal. The sky is the limit. Pace is a great example of teaching, that anything can be done. It's just a matter of finding the right person, the who, and that transaction. So you guys are a great example of that. And I'm inspired, and I think my audience will be inspired by it. And so just how can people like reach out to you and get involved with some of the things that you have going on?
Instagram, I would say, is the best way to reach us, or the Calendly link I sent you. That's a great way to book a call with us, because if it's on our calendar, then it's easier for us to show up. Like if we see it there, then it's easier. But like my Instagram is KJ Mudd, just my name, and his is Joseph Mudd, his name as well.
I love your guys' podcast. Why don't we plug that?
Oh yeah, the Mudd Club. We just started that.
Yeah.
You can find us on YouTube, the $1 Million Upside Team, and that's what we have our podcast under right now. I'm still trying to figure everything out. Like ours definitely doesn't look as clean as yours yet. I'm gonna have to get some pointers.
The one thing I will say that I tell everybody, the people that I coach and real estate agents and stuff, is consistency, and understanding who your avatar is, who you're actually going for, and who you want to be watching, and just speak to that one person, because we've all been in a place where we needed help. You know that you guys have paid for mentorship and coaching, and it has obviously worked for you. I mean, a half of a $45,000 assignment fee, through some mud leads, if I'm being honest, right? Like some really bad leads. It was just a blessing. I mean, a crazy blessing that you then turned into this, what I will say is a future empire. You guys are doing well. You're able to provide for yourselves now, but creating generational wealth, having, 70 units, as a part of your portfolio is something you can definitely be proud of. And eventually, well, you probably already are, but leverage, Grant Cardone tells a good story where he was partying and he was a hardcore salesman, and he bought that big mansion, where he was doing all these parties. And then when he finally decided to settle down and sold that thing, he took all the money from it and bought like 1,000 units in Florida. And that's what brought him to Florida. And then that's where his wealth just, can you imagine owning 1,000 units because you sold your mansion, your California.
Amazing.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So a lot of times people will compare themselves to someone like him when he first started social media, but you can't compare yourself. There's a guy, John Lee Dumas, he's a podcaster who I learned to podcast from, by the way. He's a great guy. You can he has a free podcastingcourse.com or something like that. I went through all his stuff when I first started for how you can monetize your show and things. And I don't get anything for it. That's what I learned, how I learned. And you can really do whatever you want to do. It's your personality and it's your journey. So I just want to encourage you guys in the way that I'm encouraged by you, and just keep going after it. And I look forward to doing deals with you guys. Ideally, if that opportunity comes, obviously you guys are good people. I love it. So I want to kind of go in, kind of wrap things up here. What would be your advice, both of you guys, or one of you, however you guys want to do it, but what would be your advice to someone who hasn't really invested yet? Like, think about your younger selves when you were cold calling and your mindset wasn't really where it needs to be. What would you tell that person right now?
Man, and one, consistency, right? But even more important than that, for those that haven't even started, is to just start. Just
don't think about
figure out a direction and basically pull a KJ. Just start taking action in that direction, and then you'll figure it out along the way. It's honestly the answer, right? But do your due diligence, right? Don't just make a dumb decision. Go out there, do some research into what you are thinking about you want to do, and then once you do the research and learn something, take action on what you learned, and then just keep repeating that process, and that's what's going to take you.
I have something different. I think everything comes down to your mindset. You need to have a life coach or whatever mindset coach, and you need to invest money into your mindset, because you can learn all of this stuff, but if you don't deal with your trauma and your mindset beliefs, it doesn't matter. You're going to sabotage everything you work for. So your mindset and your brain, you can literally have anything you want in life if you can figure out how to overcome certain triggers and just mindset beliefs that you had growing up. Like that, it will change your life. So if you can work on yourself, then everything else will come naturally, no matter what you apply yourself to. So that's my word of advice.
Well said.
Those two are great. I just can't help but think about Tony Robbins when he talks about, taking just massive action and coming up with, 10 things that could work, and then organize them. Which ones are the best ones? Like that's kind of what Joseph, you're saying, like figure out the direction you're going to go and then just start taking action. Boom, 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 boom. But the crazy part is, as you're doing that, you can only rise to the level that your mindset will let you. And so the two of you together, it's kind of cool to hear the differing. I'm just imagining, like, KJ, are you the visionary in this team?
Yes.
I knew it. Yeah. And then the integrator's like, these are the tasks we have to do. Right?
We balance each other very well.
That's so good. You guys like a superpower couple, man. So, and you got your future slave labor there, employee.
That's the reason we had her, right?
That's right. Well, we don't have farms anymore,
We will eventually. Yeah, it's one of our goals actually. I'm a country boy, man, for sure. I don't really care to live in the city, so yeah, we definitely want to get some land and just be sustainable off of that land. That's a goal of ours.
They won't put her to work.
Eventually,
you guys
working.
You'll get it. Your mindset's there. You got your mindset coach there next to you. You guys are gonna get it. I have no doubt. But let me tell you, I appreciate you guys coming on the show. I look forward to sharing this all over social media, guys. If you guys got value from KJ and Joseph today and the little one, like comment below value, like in capital letters. Okay, so we know that you heard this. If you're watching the replay, comment replay. And I'm just excited for you guys, and I want to follow up with you, regularly. Maybe have you guys back on in like a year and see, like, hey, we got, ended up getting 260 units, and now we have our own hard money, whatever, we bought a bank,
We appreciate you having us on as well. We really enjoyed talking with you, and we're thankful that you had us on your show.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, guys. Until next time, go out there, crush it, do exactly what KJ and Joseph did. Go out there and just believe in yourself, take action, and live a mighty life. See you guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
For more great content like this and your chance to win cash prizes each week live online, visit www.mightymikereed.com. That's www.mightymikereed.com. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite audio platform. Until next time, take care and live mighty.